Bastila Shan was born into a galaxy on the verge of perpetual darkness, where the forces of light struggled against the tide of an ever-growing Sith threat. Raised amidst this turmoil, she grew up with an awareness of the constant struggle for balance between good and evil. Her early life on Revan was marked by a deep sensitivity to the Force, a gift she would come to both treasure and curse as her life unfolded. This sensitivity was noticed by the Jedi Order, who soon took her into their ranks, sensing in her the potential for greatness and perhaps something more. Her gifts were indeed powerful, and among them was an ability unlike any other: battle meditation. Battle meditation was not just a tool but a form of strategic mastery that Bastila wielded with almost unparalleled finesse. This power allowed her to sway the emotions and morale of entire armies, instilling strength in allies and doubt in foes, often shifting the tides of battle single-handedly. Her gift was unique and revered, and the Order placed her on a path toward greatness. But with this rare ability came a daunting responsibility, for battle meditation was as much a burden as it was a gift. It required intense concentration, a mind free of distraction, and a spirit capable of withstanding the mental weight of others' emotions and fears. From a young age, Bastila showed not only potential but an eagerness to live up to the Order's expectations. She became something of a prodigy, an icon of what the Jedi Order could produce in its finest. However, her relationship with the Order was complicated. Bastila's spirit was strong, often independent and defiant of rigid doctrines. This independence made her a figure of admiration and jealousy, particularly among her peers. Her instructors warned her against pride, reminding her that arrogance was the path to the dark side. Though she listened, Bastila had always felt that pride and strength were one and the same, a mindset that would soon challenge her beliefs. As she matured, Bastila found herself increasingly drawn to the deeper mysteries of the Force, constantly pushing the limits of her knowledge and abilities. The elders warned her that delving too deeply could lead to arrogance or worse, temptation. But Bastila believed that her strength of character was more than enough to keep her on the path of the light. She was resolute in her loyalty to the Jedi Order, even as her desire for strength and understanding pushed her toward the outer edges of accepted training. Her resolve would be tested with the rise of Darth Revan and his powerful apprentice, Darth Malak. Together, they brought the galaxy into the grip of war, igniting conflicts that left star systems shattered and the Order stretched thin. Bastila was soon pulled from her training and thrust into the heart of this struggle. Her battle meditation became one of the Jedi's most valuable assets, turning the tide of battles and holding the Sith forces at bay. With her ability, even the smallest fleets became formidable, and her presence alone bolstered soldiers to stand against overwhelming odds. But Bastila's strength came with its own set of burdens. The weight of lives depended on her will, and as the wars dragged on, the strain of guiding others wore her down. The Jedi, knowing her importance, shielded her from the front lines, but her isolation, combined with the responsibilities, began to chip away at her once firm resolve. Even the most determined spirits can falter, and Bastila was no exception. She began to question the Order's strategies, wondering if the Jedi should not take a more aggressive approach. The line between light and dark began to blur, ever so slightly, as she faced the realities of a seemingly unending conflict. Her doubts grew when she was tasked with the capture of Darth Revan. Once a Jedi Knight, Revan had turned to the dark side in his pursuit of power, and had become the embodiment of everything Bastila had been taught to oppose. She approached the mission with a mix of fear and determination, understanding that capturing or redeeming Revan could change the tide of the war. But as she ventured deeper into the mission, she found herself haunted by questions she had once buried. Could someone as powerful as Revan truly be redeemed? Or was he doomed like all those who fell to the dark side? In a fateful battle, Bastila confronted Revan with her team of Jedi. The skirmish was fierce, a testament to the raw power and skill possessed by both sides. But just as it seemed Revan would crush them, a fateful twist altered the course of history. Malak, Revan's ambitious apprentice, fired upon his own master's ship, attempting to seize power for himself. In the chaos that followed, Revan was left vulnerable, and Bastila found herself standing over a fallen, unconscious Revan. Though every instinct urged her to end his life, the Force spoke to her, guiding her to a different path. She made the controversial choice to save Revan, taking him back to the Jedi Order, where his memories were stripped, and he was given a new identity. Bastila believed she could redeem him, that perhaps the Force had a purpose for them both. The decision was controversial, and some among the Jedi questioned her motives. Was it mercy, or was there something deeper, a connection to Revan that even she couldn't admit to herself? This decision marked a turning point in her life, one that would set her on a path of uncertainty, struggle, and a confrontation with her own darkest impulses. As Revan began his journey of rediscovery, Bastila was assigned as his guide, tasked with helping him reclaim his identity as a Jedi. The two became inseparable, bound by duty but also by an unspoken connection. Bastila fought against her growing feelings, knowing that attachment was forbidden and that any emotional bond could compromise their mission. Yet the connection between them grew, deeper and more complicated than she anticipated. It was a bond forged in shared struggle, mutual respect, and perhaps even an understanding that went beyond words. In the midst of these growing tensions, Bastila found herself questioning not only her role in Revan's redemption, but her place within the Jedi Order itself. She began to feel as though her life was a series of contradictions, an attempt to hold onto a light that was slipping away as the war and her own feelings began to cloud her path. With each passing day, Bastila struggled to reconcile her duty with her desires, her loyalty to the Order with her doubts about their rigid ways. This internal conflict, however, would soon take her down a road she could never have anticipated, a journey into the heart of the dark side itself, where she would be forced to confront the very darkness she had spent her life fighting against. Bastila's struggle with her feelings for Revan grew more intense as their journey continued. Each day they faced new trials, often on the verge of death, as they pursued clues to locate the Starforge, an ancient and powerful artifact believed to be the source of the Sith's seemingly endless fleets. Their mission was dangerous, filled with uncertainty and fear, yet through it all, Bastila found herself drawn to Revan, not merely as a mentor but as an equal, someone with whom she shared an unspoken bond. This bond troubled her deeply. As a Jedi, attachment was not only frowned upon, it was strictly forbidden. Emotions, especially love, were seen as pathways to the dark side, roads lined with betrayal, jealousy, and rage. Yet Bastila could not help but feel a connection with Revan that transcended words. They understood each other in a way no one else could, bound not only by shared experiences but by something deeper, a sense of destiny, as if the Force itself had intertwined their paths for reasons neither could yet understand. As the mission progressed, the strain of denying her feelings began to wear on Bastila. Her mind, already burdened by the immense responsibility of battle meditation and guiding Revan's redemption, grew clouded. She started to doubt her ability to remain impartial, wondering if her emotions were weakening her resolve. Yet, she was aware that these feelings also strengthened her. Her connection to Revan was a source of inner power, inspiring her to push past her limits. She was beginning to question the rigid doctrines of the Order, wondering if perhaps the ancient restrictions around attachment were flawed. The climax of this internal conflict came during a critical battle when they finally confronted Darth Malak. It was a battle that tested every ounce of strength and resolve within them both. Malak, seething with darkness and betrayal, taunted Bastila, claiming she was weakened by her attachment to Revan, that she was blinded by her feelings. Bastila's mind raced, her emotions a chaotic storm. She realized that Malak's words struck at her deepest fears. But as she looked at Revan, his presence beside her gave her strength, grounding her, reminding her of her purpose. In the fierce clash that ensued, Bastila and Revan fought with every ounce of skill and power they possessed. But despite their combined strength, Malak was unrelenting, forcing Bastila to a desperate choice. In a final self-sacrificing move, she threw herself into the path of Malak's attack to protect Revan, surrendering to the darkness to give him the chance to escape. She was willing to pay any price to see him live, even if it meant betraying the light she had sworn to uphold. This act of sacrifice, however, came with consequences she had not foreseen. Malak, sensing her vulnerability, captured her and took her to the Starforge. There, in the depths of the Sith stronghold, he subjected her to a relentless psychological assault, manipulating her fears, her doubts, and her unresolved feelings for Revan. Malak exploited the darkness that had always lingered in Bastila, the pride, the desire for power, and most of all, her forbidden attachment. Slowly, over time, Bastila began to succumb, her mind fraying under Malak's relentless influence until, at last, she turned fully to the dark side. As a Sith, Bastila became a shadow of her former self. She wielded her power with an intensity and ruthlessness that shocked even those who once knew her. Her transformation was not merely physical but spiritual. She was consumed by darkness, her former ideals twisted and corrupted. The purity of her battle meditation, once a beacon of light for the Jedi, became a tool of terror, amplifying the Sith's power and sowing despair among their enemies. Her fall marked a turning point in the war, a testament to the corrupting allure of the dark side. Bastila's transformation was painful, but part of her found release in it. No longer restrained by the Order's teachings, she embraced the power and freedom that the dark side offered. It allowed her to explore emotions she had long suppressed, to let go of the guilt and inner conflict that had once tormented her. She told herself that she had finally accepted her true nature, that the darkness was her rightful path. But in her heart, a small part of her still remembered the light, a lingering trace of the Jedi she had once been, the young woman who had fought so hard to protect others, who had believed in the ideals of the Order. When Revan returned, it was both a confrontation and a reunion, a meeting fraught with tension and unspoken emotions. Revan, aware of her transformation, attempted to reach her, to remind her of who she once was. He appealed to the memories they shared, to the connection that had once been their strength. But Bastila, hardened by betrayal and the twisted teachings of the Sith, resisted. She saw his efforts as weakness, a futile attempt to redeem what was already lost. Her anger and pain fueled her attacks, each strike a reflection of her inner turmoil, her desire to destroy the very man who had once inspired her. Yet even as they fought, Revan's words began to reach the part of her that had never truly succumbed to the darkness. He reminded her of her sacrifices, of the path she had chosen not out of weakness, but out of a desire to protect those she loved. Slowly, the wall of darkness she had built around herself began to crumble. And for the first time, Bastila felt the weight of her actions. She was forced to confront the truth she had denied for so long, that her fall to the dark side had been a choice, one rooted not in strength but in fear and anger. In a final act of redemption, Bastila chose to turn back to the light, abandoning the Sith and once again embracing the path of the Jedi. Her return to the light was not without cost. She bore the scars of her time as a Sith, both physical and emotional. The experience had changed her irrevocably, leaving her haunted by the memories of the lives she had destroyed and the pain she had caused. The path to redemption was long and arduous, filled with doubt and self-loathing, but she resolved to make amends, to honor the sacrifices of those she had once fought alongside. Her relationship with Revan, though rekindled, was now tinged with a deep sadness. They shared a bond that went beyond words, an understanding of the darkness that lay within each of them. They had both been to the edge of the abyss and returned, forever changed by the experience. Together they sought a future that would allow them to move past their shared tragedies, to find peace in a galaxy that was still rife with conflict. But even as Bastila tried to forge a new path, the shadows of her past continued to haunt her. She was celebrated as a hero by some, viewed with suspicion by others. The Jedi Order welcomed her return, but there were those who questioned her loyalty, who saw her as a cautionary tale rather than an inspiration. The Order's doctrines were rigid, and her experience with the dark side made her a reminder of the dangers of straying from their teachings. Bastila knew she would always live with the consequences of her choices, that the darkness she had embraced would forever be a part of her. She understood now that redemption was not an endpoint but a journey, one she would walk for the rest of her life. After returning to the light, Bastila committed herself fully to the difficult road of redemption, determined to earn back the trust of the Jedi Order, and more importantly, to find peace within herself. The memories of her time as a Sith lingered, haunting her like shadows that refused to fade. She remembered vividly the anguish she had caused, the lives her actions had affected, and the moral lines she had crossed. These memories were not something she could easily forgive herself for, even if others tried to. The Jedi Council, in its wisdom, welcomed her return but remained cautious. Bastila's unique abilities and her connection with the dark side marked her as a symbol of both hope and warning. Many within the Order saw her as a beacon of resilience, someone who had faced the darkness and returned. Others, however, viewed her redemption with skepticism, questioning whether someone who had fallen so far could truly be trusted again. Bastila felt this scrutiny acutely, sensing the silent judgment and mistrust. While some celebrated her return, she could not shake the feeling of being an outsider within the very Order she had dedicated her life to. In Revan, she found both a confidant and a mirror to her own struggles. They shared a bond that was more than mere attachment. It was a connection born of mutual understanding and shared pain. Revan had also experienced the lure of the dark side and the struggle for redemption, making him perhaps the only person who could truly empathize with Bastila's internal battle. Their conversations were filled with unspoken understanding, a language shared between two souls who had seen the galaxy's darkest parts and had been marked by them. Though the Jedi teachings warned against detachment, Bastila knew that her bond with Revan went beyond simple love. It was a connection forged in the fires of war, a mutual recognition of their scars, both physical and spiritual. As they moved forward together, Bastila and Revan became symbols of a different kind of strength, one born not of purity but of resilience. They represented a hope that even those who had stumbled could find their way back, that redemption was possible even after the deepest fall. But this journey was not without its challenges. The galaxy was still in turmoil, and remnants of the Sith Empire lingered, driven underground but far from defeated. Bastila knew that her battles were far from over, that her redemption was an ongoing process, one that would require her to confront the temptations of power and pride every day. Together, Bastila and Revan sought a path beyond the Jedi teachings, a balance that recognized the complexities of the Force. They saw the rigid doctrines of the Order as necessary, yet flawed, believing that the true strength of a Jedi came not from denial but from understanding. This philosophy was controversial and led to friction with the Council. They viewed Bastila's approach as dangerous, a risk that could once again lead her down the path of darkness. But Bastila knew that her journey demanded a different approach, one that acknowledged the darkness she had faced and the lessons it had taught her. Her internal conflict was reflected in her approach to battle meditation, a skill she once wielded with pride and certainty. Now, every use of this power was tinged with caution, a reminder of the times she had used it to sow despair rather than hope. She began to understand that her gift was not just a tool of war, but a means of connection, an ability to unite others in purpose and resolve. This new perspective transformed her approach, shifting her focus from domination to unity, from victory to understanding. Her battle meditation became a source of healing, a way to rebuild the fractured spirits of those who fought alongside her. Despite her growth, Bastila was not immune to the lingering call of the dark side. The memories of the power she had wielded as a Sith were a constant whisper, a reminder of the strength and freedom she had once embraced. There were moments when the old desires resurfaced, moments of anger or frustration, when she felt the allure of power coursing through her. But now, Bastila faced these moments with a quiet resilience, a determination to choose a different path. She had come to understand that true strength lay not in domination but in restraint, that her redemption was built on the daily choice to resist the darkness within her. In time, Bastila began to train new Jedi, sharing her knowledge and experiences with a new generation. She was honest with her students about her past, using her own journey as a lesson in humility and the dangers of pride. Her openness inspired many, and though some within the Order remained wary, her students saw her as a mentor who understood the complexities of the Force in a way few others did. Her teachings were unorthodox, challenging the traditional doctrines, but they resonated with those who, like her, sought to understand both light and dark. Yet, despite her success as a teacher, Bastila remained haunted by a sense of incompleteness, a feeling that her journey was not yet over. Her connection with Revan, while a source of strength, also left her with unanswered questions about her purpose and the true nature of the Force. Revan, too, was restless, sensing that his own path lay beyond the confines of the Order. Together, they decided to seek answers beyond the galaxy's known regions, venturing into uncharted space in search of the origins of the Sith and the mysteries of the Force. This decision was not an easy one, and it meant leaving behind the Order, her students, and the galaxy they had fought so hard to protect. But Bastila knew that her redemption was not complete, that there were questions she needed to confront, both about herself and the Force she had dedicated her life to. She and Revan embarked on a journey into the unknown, a quest that would take them far from the battles and politics of the galaxy, into the depths of the Force's mysteries. As they traveled deeper into uncharted space, Bastila felt a strange sense of peace, a clarity she had not experienced in years. The journey was not without its dangers, and they faced threats from unknown forces and ancient remnants of Sith power. Yet, through it all, Bastila felt the Force guiding her, a reminder that her path was not one of conquest but of understanding. She came to see that her redemption was not a destination but a journey, an endless pursuit of balance within herself and with the Force. In the solitude of the journey, Bastila confronted the last remnants of her darkness, the pride and fear that had once led her to fall. She came to accept that these parts of herself would always be with her, but that they did not define her. Her redemption was not about erasing her past, but about embracing it, using it as a source of wisdom and compassion. She realized that the light and dark were not separate forces, but two sides of the same reality, each necessary for true understanding. Their journey into the unknown continued, and though the galaxy would eventually forget their names, Bastila knew that her story was far from over. She had found a purpose beyond battle, a reason to continue seeking, learning, and growing. In her heart, she had finally found peace not in the absolution of the order, but in the acceptance of her own journey, her own choices. Bastila's story became a legend, a tale of a woman who had faced the darkness within herself and emerged stronger, not because she was without flaws, but because she had the courage to confront them. As Bastila and Revan ventured deeper into the unknown, the mysteries of the Force seemed to call to them, each revelation drawing them further from the worlds they once knew. They encountered ancient civilizations, remnants of the Sith's origins, and whispers of the dark rituals that had shaped the Sith Order. Each encounter taught Bastila something new, challenging her beliefs and deepening her understanding of the Force. She began to see the Force as more than just a tool for peace or war. It was an intricate, all-encompassing energy, connecting every living being, light and dark alike. Their journey was filled with both wonder and peril. Bastila felt her connection to the Force strengthening in ways she had never thought possible. Yet with each new discovery, she also sensed an underlying darkness. Some of the ancient places they explored were filled with remnants of unspeakable power, artifacts that radiated an energy older and more potent than anything she had felt in the known galaxy. Revan, too, felt the pull of this ancient power, but his focus was unwavering, his purpose clear. Bastila admired his resilience, his unshakable determination to understand the Force fully. As the years passed, their bond only deepened, growing beyond the trials of war and the mysteries of the Force. They shared everything: fears, hopes, and the burdens of their past. Yet with this closeness came a quiet sadness, a sense that their journey would not last forever. They both understood that the galaxy they had left behind still needed them, that their absence had left a void that others would eventually try to fill. But they also knew that their journey was essential, that without this exploration they would never truly understand the darkness they had fought against. In the depths of uncharted space, Bastila and Revan found remnants of a Sith empire, even older than they could have imagined. Here, they encountered philosophies that defied the simplicity of light and dark, teachings that spoke of balance, harmony, and the acceptance of all aspects of the Force. These teachings resonated with Bastila, who had always struggled with the rigid doctrines of the Jedi Order. She began to understand that her journey was not about denying the darkness within her, but about integrating it, about finding peace not through rejection but through acceptance. One of their most profound encounters was with an ancient Sith Lord, a figure from a bygone era who had rejected the Sith's lust for power in favor of a more balanced approach. This Sith taught Bastila and Revan that true mastery of the Force required understanding all its aspects, that light and dark were merely expressions of the same underlying energy. This revelation shook Bastila to her core, forcing her to reevaluate everything she had been taught by the Jedi Order. She began to see that her own struggle with darkness was not a failure but an essential part of her journey. This encounter marked a turning point for Bastila. She no longer saw her past as something to be ashamed of, nor did she view the darkness within her as a threat. Instead, she embraced it as a source of wisdom, a reminder of the choices that had shaped her. She understood now that her redemption was not about denying her past, but about integrating it, about finding peace in the acceptance of all aspects of herself. This acceptance brought her a new sense of clarity, a feeling of wholeness that she had never experienced before. Revan, too, was deeply affected by these revelations, but his path began to diverge from Bastila's. He felt a growing sense of duty, a need to return to the known galaxy and confront the darkness that still threatened it. Bastila understood his decision, even as it filled her with sorrow. They had shared so much, endured so many trials together, and yet she knew that Revan's path was different from her own. His destiny lay in the battles yet to come, while hers was in the understanding and balance she had found. With a heavy heart, Bastila bid farewell to Revan, understanding that their paths, though intertwined, were now leading them in different directions. She returned to the known galaxy, carrying with her the wisdom she had gained, determined to share it with those who would listen. Her journey had changed her irrevocably, and she knew that she could no longer follow the Jedi Order's rigid doctrines. Instead, she sought a new way, a path that embraced both light and dark, harmony and conflict. Bastila's return was met with mixed reactions. The Jedi Order was wary of her new teachings, viewing them as dangerous and heretical. They saw her experiences as a reminder of the dangers of venturing too close to the dark side, a warning rather than a source of wisdom. But Bastila remained steadfast, determined to share what she had learned. She knew that her journey had given her insights that could help others avoid the same mistakes she had made, that her path of redemption could serve as a guide for those struggling with their own darkness. In time, Bastila gathered a small group of followers, individuals who were drawn to her teachings and her philosophy of balance. They were not Jedi in the traditional sense, but seekers, individuals committed to understanding the Force in all its complexity. Together, they formed a new order, one that embraced the principles of acceptance and understanding rather than rejection and denial. Bastila's teachings became known as the Way of Balance, a path that sought harmony between light and dark, strength and compassion. The Way of Balance was met with resistance from both the Jedi Order and the Sith, who saw it as a threat to their own doctrines. But Bastila's followers were undeterred, committed to a path that they believed offered a deeper, truer understanding of the Force. Bastila became a mentor to this new generation, guiding them with the wisdom she had gained from her own journey. She taught them that redemption was not a destination but a lifelong process, a journey of self-discovery and acceptance. Despite her successes, Bastila remained haunted by the memory of Revan, by the path he had chosen and the battles he would face. She wondered if their paths would ever cross again, if they would find each other in the vastness of the galaxy. She knew that their bond transcended distance and time, that they were connected by something deeper than mere attachment. Yet she also understood that their destinies were separate, that each of them had a role to play in the galaxy's future. In the quiet moments, Bastila would meditate, reaching out through the Force, feeling the faint echo of Revan's presence. She knew that he was still out there, fighting his own battles, carrying the same burden of redemption that she bore. Their connection was a source of comfort, a reminder that even in the darkest times they were never truly alone. As the years passed, Bastila's influence grew, and the Way of Balance gained followers across the galaxy. Her teachings inspired others to seek understanding rather than division, to embrace the complexities of the Force rather than fear them. Though she was no longer part of the Jedi Order, she remained a symbol of resilience and wisdom, a reminder that even the greatest fall could lead to new heights. Bastila's story became a legend, passed down through generations as a tale of redemption, resilience, and the enduring power of the Force. Her journey was one of struggle and self-discovery, a path that led her to the very edge of darkness and back. In the end, Bastila found peace not in victory or defeat, but in the acceptance of herself, in the understanding that her journey was not one of perfection but of growth. And so, Bastila Shan's legacy endured, a testament to the power of redemption, a reminder that even in a galaxy filled with darkness, the light of hope and understanding would always find a way to endure.